Hey guys, welcome back to Batman Week. My name's still Sam Carrico, and today we're going to close out Batman Week with my non-spoiler review of Suicide Squad. If you want the spoiler review, that's coming. It's just going to be on the Wednesday episode of the Film Fan Club podcast. I'm trying to get Peyton Grufik from the YouTube channel, Rated PG Rufik, on with me to talk spoilers for Suicide Squad. We'll see how that pans out, but for now, we're going to talk about the everything that's not spoilery. I'm going to give you my basic impressions on the film, my pros and my cons, what I liked about the story and the characters, all in a kind of vague enough way that it doesn't spoil anything for you to where if you really want to go see the movie still, you can. Now, we'll see if I recommend you to go see it towards the end. We'll get there. Now, what is Suicide Squad about? Okay, it is it is a group of bad guys led by led by really Rick Flag, Joe Kinnaman, but the group includes Deadshot, Will Smith, Harley Quinn, Margot Robbie, Killer Croc, I don't remember the guy's name, Katana, I don't remember the lady's name, lots of minor characters who I don't remember their name. There's the Enchantress in there as well. They're led by Amanda Waller, who's played by Viola Davis, who really pretty much plays this like corrupt politician who uses people as pawns for her own personal gains and like to advance her own interests and her own agenda. Very creepy person. I'd hate to meet someone like her in real life. So she brings the Suicide Squad together as kind of a failsafe for spoilers for Batman vs. Superman, a failsafe for the metahuman thing since Superman is now dead, because Superman, of course, was on their side, and then now he's not there anymore. So now let's get into what I liked about the film, okay? Pros, the tone. This movie is got a different... a lot of critics I've noticed on professional outlets have been kind of noticing that this is they say that it's lied to you with the marketing. I think no, the marketing's been pretty spot on as far as the bombastic feel of like the Bohemian Rhapsody trailer, the Ballroom Blitz trailer. The most recent, that final trailer with like, I don't know if it was the 21 Pilots song or something. That was a terrible trailer. I hated that trailer, but luckily I didn't see that until after I saw the movie, so that was good. The cast of this film, they all work really well together. There's a couple minor parts of the cast that don't really work well together, but for the most part, I thought as a unit, I liked seeing Deadshot's interaction with Harley Quinn and their interaction with Rick Flag and his interaction with Amanda Waller and then the way the Joker played off of Harley Quinn. I thought it was all really well done, and they looked like they were having a fun time shooting the project. So I really liked that. It had that kind of I don't want to say it had the Guardians of the Galaxy feel of like that sort of, that really fun kind of adventure, quirky kind of thing, but it was able to bring some elements of that, some shades of that over to it, not to compare it to a Marvel movie. I know if you compare any two comic book movies to each other, some people freak out. Harley Quinn. They did Harley Quinn in a live-action movie, and they didn't completely destroy her character. I loved what they've done with Harley Quinn, for the most part. Okay, there's some parts with the origin that bothered me. Yes, you do get to see her origin. That's not really a spoiler. It's in the pictures. So I really liked some parts of Harley Quinn's character. I liked her in the movie. What she does in the movie. Some of the origin stuff is kind of messy and kind of not as well handled as I'd like it to be, or I would have maybe liked to do a bit differently handled, but everything that Harley Quinn does in the movie, her personality, how she interacts with people, I thought it was spot on, and I thought it was, it's like, man, I actually feel like I'm watching Harley Quinn from Batman the Animated Series and then Batman the comic books on the big screen. It's awesome. Will Smith is Deadshot. I liked him in the film. I mentioned I mentioned in other podcasts and whatnot. I was kind of afraid he would steal the show. He'd kind of try and show up everybody and do his Will Smith thing, and he does for the most part. You can tell he's like doing his Will Smith charisma kind of, but he was able to step aside and become part of a unit. He's one of like the three leads, but this movie has like 3 or 4 leads, which I really didn't think was that bad. It's just whenever you try, there's a lot of fat to cut. I mean, the movie has like 3 or 4 leads, but it tries to, I'll get there in the cons, I guess. It just focuses on a little too much. It could have honed its approach. Amanda Waller, loved her. As I mentioned, she's a badass. Viola Davis plays this awesome, menacing character. You hate her. Which she serves her purpose in the film. El Diablo, he has a good kind of arc in the film that is interesting, and it touched me a little bit. It touched me more so than I expected it to. I liked El Diablo stuff. Joker plot in the movie took a while to grow on me, because when the Joker is introduced in the film, I'm kind of taken aback because he is doing all the weird, the weird kind of stuff that we were afraid of, that we weren't gonna like about Jared Leto's performance. But then he does some really cool stuff, and he starts to act like a badass. And then it's a really mixed bag. But by the end of the movie, I'm like, okay, I like this version of the Joker, and I accept him, and I'll move forward with him. Like, I'm not gonna. This isn't like Lex Luthor, where I'm like, you cannot use Lex Luthor anymore. It's like, okay, let's see more stuff with this Joker. Let's flesh him out a little bit. Soundtrack's badass too. I love the soundtrack. It's got, like, again, sorry, Guardians of the Galaxy had a really cool soundtrack, so this brought some shades of the soundtrack to Guardians of the Galaxy made more sense to the plot, but this one was just kind of had a fun, like, music video kind of tone. There's some rumors that there's 2 different cuts of the film, one that was more of a music video studio version, one that was more of David Ayer's dark version, and they went with the music video version. I liked those aspects of it, so I don't know what David Ayer's true cut would have been if those rumors are true. And let's get to the cons, okay? Because there are a lot of cons, and this is the somber part of the stuff. I started out the movie the review on a higher note, because there's a lot of stuff that's not right with this film. The Enchantress, she sucks. I hate the Enchantress so much. She's one of the worst characters that I've ever seen in a film, ever. Cara Delevingne, I'm not sure if she's a good actress. I don't know if it was just bad direction, if it was bad writing, if it was bad acting. But her performance in the film is terrible. Her character in the film is terrible. What her character does in the film is stupid and not interesting. Then, okay, terrible. Has this relationship in the film that I don't care about. It's just terrible. I'm trying to avoid spoilers, which is why I'm getting a little flustered, because there's a lot of spoilers with her character too. Maybe that's a spoiler. I don't know. Sorry, but and then the Joker. Like I mentioned, some parts of him I didn't like towards the beginning. Has to do with Harley Quinn's origin. I don't really want to get into it. More spoiler talk, we'll get to there. Lack of Joker, actually, which is funny because, like I said, once he grows on you, you want to see more of him. You want to be like, okay, well, what's he going to do next? Where is he? What's his plan for whenever they do this, You start to kind of wonder where the Joker's kind of, because they do mention in the press materials that his storyline runs adjacent to that of the Suicide Squad, so it's pretty interesting to have that kind of going on at the same time. So you kind of wish that there was more of him by the end of it. It's like, oh, wow. Especially with some of the choices in the plot. It's like, you could have easily cut a lot of that out and just given us more Joker stuff, and I would have been fine. And I'll get more into that in the spoiler talk as well. A lot of the cool action from the trailer was flashbacks. I don't want to mention what, but whenever you see it in the flashbacks, you'll be like, dang it, I really wish this had an effect on the story that we're currently in. Because the first third of the film is a lot of explaining all these characters, because it's their introduction of the DC Extended Universe. So, and then some of the humor didn't work for me. It was kind of some of the humor was really well done with certain characters, like Deadshot. I think it really landed all the jokes with him a lot, especially in the beginning, his interaction with Rick Flags, because it wasn't like he was making a joke. It was because he was just having a funny interaction, and it was just talking about, or he was just moving forward the plot or anything like that. It was dialogue. And then there was other characters like Killer Croc who didn't flesh out the plot and with his dialogue at all. He was there to make one-liners, and it was kind of stupid. He did flesh out the plot in some ways, but with the jokes that they gave him, it was all just, look, Killer Croc's making a joke. And I'm like, that's cheesy and lame, and I hate it. So Katana, deadweight. Boring second act and a ridiculous third act is what I wrote down for this film. I don't want to get into it falls into a lot of superhero tropes that Fantastic Four, the 2015 film, fell into one of these certain tropes that I will talk about in the spoiler review more. They did a lot of things that I didn't really care about. Also, this starts to bring in the question, with the stakes being as large as they are, supposedly, because they do make the stakes really large in this film. Again, another problem with a lot of blockbusters where you're like, can't you make a smaller personal story? I was really hoping they would make a smaller, more personal story about these specific characters just doing a covert, special ops mission that will, that maybe most of the public won't even know about, but instead they throw them into this random earth-shattering event that's like, just so generic. It's just take a page out of any superhero movie as far as like the villain's plot and everything like that going, and all the henchmen. It's just it really bothers me, and because of that, the poor storytelling aspect, and actually what the story is that the Suicide Squad has to do, I really don't like that. I mean, the novelty of living. I mentioned in my Batman vs Superman non-spoiler review back in March. Check that out if you haven't yet. But I really like being in the DC universe, and with the tone and the stuff, it still feels like we're in the DC universe. It's awesome. There's Arkham Asylum, there's Gotham City, there's cameos from other characters, lots of Batman villains. I feel like we're there, but man, that only goes so far because you have to give me a good storyline for these, or a good story for these characters to be involved in. They have to do interesting things that that makes sense. So it didn't really work on a lot of those aspects, which sucks because it had a lot of, like I mentioned, and I spent the first half of this review talking about all the cool stuff, which was really a lot of setup. You had a great cast, you had a great Harley Quinn, great leads. El Diablo has a cool story arc. The Joker has a cool story arc running subsequent to this movie. The soundtrack's cool. The tone's cool. But whenever you put that all together onto this story that they're involved in, it's just a terrible story. It's just a really bad story. And I don't want to mention the script because people like Max Landis say, if you haven't seen every single draft of the script, then you can't criticize the script. It's like, okay, all the words and the story elements that were in the theatrical cut, if that was written down on a paper, that document would not be as good. It's the script, okay? That's what I mean when I say the script. So, in that sense, the script wasn't that good. So it's just, it did feel like there was a lot of studio meddling in there. It wasn't as filmmaker driven. It wasn't as much of a David Ayer film as I would have liked to, as they led us on to it be. So I don't know, I'm going to cut it off because I'm getting to like 13 minutes of ranting about Suicide Squad. So really, as you can tell, I didn't like a lot of aspects of this film. I did like a lot of aspects of this film, but unfortunately, the bad aspects of this film overshadowed the good, which makes it a 4.5 out of 10 for Suicide Squad for me. It's a really messy, messy, messy film. I really went in wanting to like it. I'm a huge DC fan, as you can tell, like by a bunch of the props, and the fact that I'm doing a video series called Batman Week, and that I've constantly been raving about various DC properties, the Dark Knight, Man of Steel, the Batman animated stuff, the Justice League animated stuff. So I was really rooting for this movie to succeed and really wanting to like it and love it. And it just let me down. It let me down in a lot of areas. But I'm looking forward to future installments. I think they can take the best elements of this film, like, Deadshot, Joker, Harley Quinn, Amanda Waller, all that stuff, and they can like put it all in. They could take this and move forward with the best, and maybe give us a better story in the future. So again, there's room to improve with this DC extended universe. I'm really optimistic. I might. The more I have only seen this movie once, so I'm gonna probably watch it at least one more time. Maybe on discount day or something like that. Take my popularity to go see it, and I'll kind of examine it more for the spoilers review, hopefully, and then I might like it more, I might dislike it more. But for now, it's a 4.5 out of 10. Pretty disappointing, but kind of I'm not angry at it because like it wasn't like Batman vs Superman where there was like it was really mixed, but there was some stuff that made me really angry and I didn't like it. It's with this, it's like no, this is just. They just didn't hit the mark. They just weren't able to pull it off this time, and that sucks. So, I'm Sam Carrico for the Film Fan Club. Check out the rest of Batman Week. I'll put a link to the playlist in the description of this video. I'll also put a link to my various social media sites. You can follow me at Samuel D. Carrico. That's my handle for most of the stuff. Make sure you subscribe to the Film Fan Club on YouTube. Like I said, every Wednesday we got a Film Fan Club podcast. This Wednesday we're talking Suicide Squad spoilers. So, once again, I'm Sam Carrico. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.